everybody? Tekking101 here to review One Piece, chapter 864, titled The Vinsmoke Family Slaughter Plot. Has it always been called that? I don't think so. Like, Big Mom already had the plan, you know, let's kill all the Vinsmokes and take their advanced tech and, you know, we'll rule the world or the oceans or some bullshit. But I don't think it's ever been called the Vinsmoke Family Slaughter Plot, but whatever, okay. This chapter also touches off a new cover page serial, which I'm really excited for. It's only going to be a short-term one, so we're not going to probably see a lot of parts of this. Very similar to the Straw Hat separation serial. Remember that? After the Straw Hats got separated by Kuma, we had like 2 chapter covers for each of the Straw Hats that just showcase what they were up to, what island they were on. Probably something similar we're going to get here with the Straw Hat Grand Fleet. Of course, the Grand Fleet that got unified after the Dressrosa arc and that will eventually probably play a much bigger role in the story and involving Luffy later on. But now the Straw Hats have a lot of manpower. They have, you know, these allies now. So the first chapter of which we cut over to the beautiful pirate ship, which of course is captained by none other than Ideo, you know, the guy with the long arms and the boxing. Yo, yeah, that's totally his part now, of course. It's Cavendish, the glorious White Knight Cavendish and his merry men. By the way, how much of a fucking ego do you have to plaster popularity right on the side of your freaking ship? This is like if I had like a constant counter in the bottom right of my reviews that just showed how many subs I have. Like, oh yeah, check that out, guys. 136 whatever number thousand subs. You know I'm fucking awesome, right? Just whatever. Yeah, you know what? Something that I've always been interested in knowing, I don't think it was ever explained, it might have been shown at the end of it, but one of the biggest moments in One Piece that had me kind of like really, like, it's like, oh no, please, no, not that. It was when Cavendish's horse, Ferrol, I guess was its name, got attacked by that giant nutcracker thing, and like the horse got like trapped in the jaws of this nutcracker, and the nutcracker was like, you know, chomping down on this freaking horse, and I was like, oh god, no, please, not the horse. Don't really give a shit about Cavendish. I like Hakuba way more than I like Cavendish, but come on, please let that horse live. I think it was shown that it was alive at the end, but damn, that was just ugh. But as for this chapter, we cut back to Big Mom's rage mode already in progress, where she's launching a fire fist. Sorry, Ace. I know you were the ones that originally had the original fire fist, but Big Mom has the sun fist. So I wonder what would happen if you got fisted by Big Mom. Probably similar results to what happened with Akainu. Yeah, I'm never gonna let that go. He got punched in the stomach and died. It's pretty fucking funny, right? Anyway, Big Mom launches an attack. However, of course, we see last chapter that Brook shattered the Mother Caramel picture. So everyone, despite all the chaos, I can't set this down somewhere. Despite all the chaos around in the tea party, everyone's like, you know, jumping around, all the crazy animals, you know, Dogtooth shooting off jelly beans, people are firing guns, freaking Big Berg's like waddling around like, big scoop, big scoop, big scoop. Oh, I almost got shot. Big scoop, you know? Everyone just nonsense and craziness. And the second that freaking picture gets shattered, the second that Brook is like, yo ho ho, everyone just like, you know, even the people that are about to die, like this one guy's about to get his head blown off and he's just like, all right, get ready to, oh shit. Everyone just shuts up and looks over at the picture falling apart. Big Mom stops in mid-attack and glances over. I thought that the picture in her would have some sort of like connection, you know, like some like through the soul no me, like there's some connection there, so she would immediately know. Didn't seem to be the case, but she did notice they got shattered, and so everyone looks over at it, and then the big reveal, of course. You have the mysterious figure pull back the mask, revealing John Cena. Dun 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 dun. Is that still a meme? I don't even know. Okay. Anyway, yeah, of course it's Brook, although it's funny because everyone around there is not used to seeing a skeleton, which it's funny that the One Piece fandom, that's just normal for us. We're just used to that now. But from the perspective of everyone in the audience, it wasn't Brook pulling off a mask, revealing his true face. No, the way they took it is this normal guy literally ripped off his fucking skin, revealing a skeleton. And that is hilarious. Put yourself in the freaking shoes of these random bystanders that have no idea about Brook being this skeleton dude. I mean, I guess they weren't really good fans of the Soul King or whatever. They haven't seen it. So they didn't see this guy break a picture, and the next thing he does is just rip off his skin. Like, oh my god, he's freaking insane! What the hell? So, Brook has to break out, like, oh no, this is my face. Big Mom looks over and is like, "Oh, the Soul King, I thought you died, I reckon." And Brook's like, "Oh, actually, yes, I did die a long time ago. By the way, could I see your panty?" Actually, I take that back. I don't want to see your panties. So at this point, the plan gets kicked in motion, and Bege and everyone else is like, all right, we only have a few seconds. We only have 3 seconds. Everyone brace yourselves. Meanwhile, we cut over to Big Mom, who's none too happy about this circumstance. It's actually, she's not ready to break out in a cry just yet. Rather, she just can't process what's going on. She's just like, straw-hatted wedding cake and Mother Caramel and Soul King and jelly beans. I don't know what's going on. So she's like gripping her head like she's about to scream, but she hasn't actually started doing it yet. Everyone just kind of braces themselves. You know, Luffy and Jinbei getting battle poses like ready to go. All the guests are like, oh, we got to get out of here. It's going to be a second coming of that horrible day. Meanwhile, we cut back over to Sanji and Pudding, whose Pudding is, you know, she was a little bit shocked at first, but it seems she had gathered herself back up to her bunty self. She tries to shoot Sanji again, but Sanji's just, you know, casually avoiding the ball. It's just like, okay, sweetie, just calm down. Now listen, we have to get out of here. You don't want to get shot. Oh, that was kind of close. You know, he's just kind of casually dodging bullets with observation hockey. Pudding's like firing this gun empty, and she seems to go a little bit back to the way she was. She's just like, shocked, aren't you? Just makes you lose hope, doesn't it? Don't worry, you'll soon lose your life too. You know, despite the fact, you know, she's still kind of going along with that idea, just like, yeah, you see? Makes you lose hope, doesn't it? I have a third eye. Yeah, this is the plan, right? Sanji, you know, he strikes it very coolly. I'm assuming the gun's out of bullets at this point. Sanji's just like, and were you deceived as well? Did you deceive yourself, Pudding? And then once again, Pudding doesn't really know how to react to this. She's just like, I don't, But anyway, Pudding gets shoved out of the way by 2 other members of the Charlotte family that take the stage, the 3rd son and the 4th son. Now, we've seen these characters before, but only very briefly in the crowd as they were initially getting gathered for the tea party. So we have the 3rd son of the Charlotte family, Charlotte Daifuku, whose devil fruit ability, I had no idea. I didn't even really know how to make of this at first. It took me a while to really figure this out. But basically, he ate the Hoya Hoya no Mi, which means lampshade, or like the lamp fruit. So what he does is he like rubs his tummy, and then, you know, the smoke comes out of his, like, stomach or belt buckle or whatever, and then it creates a genie, and the genie is the one that actually fights for him. So I don't know if he, like, if the genie's kind of autonomous and he could just, like, you know, let it do what it wants to do. It just goes after whatever he views as an enemy, or if he has to actually direct it. But he's able to summon this genie out of nowhere, which is a very unique devil fruit ability. It seems like the whole thing is coded in armament hockey, but considering this is weird, because this is a devil fruit power that allows you to summon another, like I guess, living being that has its own ability, like, has a little bit of its own autonomy. It can attack people of its own discretion, and it can talk. It's weird. Even by Parametheus standards, this is fucking weird. Unless you want to say that it's like, I would say maybe it's like an extension of his soul, like the Yomi Yomi no Mi that's leaving, but he's still very much aware of himself. It's not like, you know, his body is dropping limp while the genie comes out. It's like the genie is its own thing, and he is still him. And he's still going about having conversations while the genie's going around and attacking. So it's a weird freaking fruit. I don't even really know how to make heads or tails of this. I kind of want to do a discussion just on this alone, because really interesting. And then whether or not that it's actually coded in armament hockey, or that's just the way it looks, because we've never seen a devil fruit have this ability to just summon another creature from you. It's weird. Hey guys, as I was editing this, I just wanted to clarify something. So obviously we've seen devil fruits that have the ability to create other forms of life, like Big Mom's Soul no Mi is able to move the souls of other humans into animate objects or into animals and create the homies. Even Sugar's Hobby no Mi is able to create the toy form of life. But the weird thing about the Hoya Hoya no Mi is that it seems to just create another form of life out of nowhere. Like, you're not moving souls around to create life out of nothing, or the Hobby no Mi is just turning humans into toys. The Hoya Hoya no Mi just, like, seemingly grants the ability to just summon another being out of you that's completely autonomous of you, that is able to just act on its own and think and speak and attack
without you actually doing anything, which is very unusual. As if the fruit itself, it's like the embodiment of maybe the essence of the fruit itself is the genie. I don't know. Or it also could possibly be a mythical zone, because genies are mythical characters, but it's not. It's completely unlike any sort of zone, since Daifuku himself doesn't actually transform into the genie. So I don't really know what to make of it, but I just wanted to clarify that one thing.
So he tries to attack it. The genie goes after Sanji using a technique called Magi, or Demon. Oh, Magi, yeah, I gave it a shot. I tried to read it. I guess it was an okay story. I just didn't really get that far. What was the guy that... I don't know, the rich dude with the sword, he seemed pretty cool, but aside from that, I didn't really care for the main character at all too much. Oh, anyway, yeah, he has another attack called Jiren, or Giren, which is cut. So, obviously, playing off Aladdin, Arabian Nights, that sort of thing, keeping with the fairy tale aspect of it. It's just freaking weird. I would really be confused on how this freaking technique works, right? We cut to the mirror world very briefly, where it seems Caesar's about to jump out with Brûlé, but that's all we get there. Another scene we get is with Charlotte Oven fighting against Pedro, and this is a little bit later in the chapter, but I'm just skipping around. A lot of shit happens in this chapter. It's really kind of action-packed, right? So Pedro is fighting against Charlotte Oven, who is the fourth son, and he launches an attack, and Charlotte Oven blocks his sword, and then Jinbei's like, wait, no, no, I think Oven launches the attack, and then Pedro blocks it with his sword, and then Jinbei's like, no, don't block his attacks, Pedro, and it turns out that he ate the Netsu no Mi, or the heat, or the hot fruit. So basically, he could become superheated, given his name being Oven. Makes sense. Although, it's kind of funny because this is very similar to the, I think it's the Atsu no Mi, which was eaten by Dawn, that Dawn from that filler arc back in the anime, I think it was between the Enies Lobby arc and Thriller Bark. They get to that, area with all the mafiosos and stuff there, and the Dawn guy, the big fat dude, he had an ability to turn into a high heat human, a 10,000 degree human, I think. He fought against Zoro, and that was a very similar kind of fruit, but of course that's anime only. This is a similar ability that allows him to emit heat not only in through his own body, but I guess maybe he can conduct it directly into his other any object that he touches. So it's one of two ways you can look at this. You can look at it like, anything that touches Oven, he can immediately transfer that heat over to it instantly. Or the other way you could look at it is the way that heat normally works. Like Pedro has a metal sword, touches Oven's glove, which is superheated, and the heat, just transfers over to the metal, but it seemed like instantaneous. If it was the way normal heat worked, Pedro would still be able to, cut him and block him, and the heat wouldn't transfer immediately. It was more of just, Pedro raises his sword, and the second that Oven's fist came in contact with Pedro's sword, it's like it scalded his hand already. The entire sword was superheated up. So I think that might just be one of the unique abilities with the fruit. Anything he touches, he can immediately superheat to insane degrees. So those are the two new Charlotte members, Charlotte Daifuku and Charlotte Oven there. We get one scene where Bege actually holds down Luffy and holds a gun to his head because he figures, well, I'm still shit's not working the way we planned. She's not freaking out yet, and I'm supposed to be the head of security, so I'm supposed to be the guy that's supposed to be trying to attack you. I have to put up an appearance. So he holds Luffy down, holds a gun to his head, and he's like, I got the captain right here! And someone just shouts, okay, kill him! Okay, good, you got him, that's great, please blow his freaking head off. And Bege is sitting there and he's just like, maybe I should, just to defeat, less competition later on, but I guess he figures he still needs Luffy. By the way, I don't know if those are Sea Prism Stone bullets or anything he has, so probably wouldn't affect Luffy all that much, right? Okay, so, long story short, Brook gets his head cut off by an attack. It rolls next to Luffy. Luffy's just bawling his eyes out laughing. You gotta love Luffy. He's just having a blast here. He's not even like, yeah, we broke the painting. I mean, the picture, and Big Mom's not freaking out, which basically makes our entire plan completely screwed over, because we have no idea what's going to happen next, and we can all die. But man, Brook, I didn't know you could lose a head. Man, that's a riot. That's great. This is great. This is so much fun. I like this. I like the cake falling down. This is a fun time, yeah. So we cut over to see what's up with the Vinsmoke family. How they're taking this whole deal. And that everyone seems to be sitting rather calmly at the table except for Judge. He's sitting at the head of the table freaking out like, Big Mom, what's going on here? We trusted you. What the hell? Meanwhile, his sons are all just sitting there completely chill. Now remember, all of Sanji's siblings, save for Reiju, have had their emotions completely removed from them, which meant that they acted completely callous toward Sanji growing up, but also means that in the face of death, they have no fear of death. So rather interested in seeing what would have happened if Big Mom did her sole focus on like Ichiji or Niji, because they just don't have the capacity for it. It's not like Jinbei that they've like resolved themselves. It's just that they lack that sort of emotion. So Judge is freaking out like, what's going on, Big Mom? How dare you go against us like this? You double-crosser. And Ichiji's just like, Father, please, just calm down. They got us. We're gonna die. It's just gonna happen. And then Yonji's just like, yep, they got our guns and they got our suits, so we can't fight back. They got the guns filled with the bullets. They're gonna shoot us. And then Niji's just like, yeah, well, we shot for the sky, but, just looks like we're falling back down. They got us good. So what are you gonna do, right? And they just go out, they're just laughing and being cheerful. And then Judge is just like, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you kids? We're gonna die. Everything we've worked for. They just don't care. Reiju's just sitting there just like, she's scared probably, but she's not letting it be shown. She's just like, Father, you're the one that turned them into this. You're the one that created them like this. There's nothing wrong with them. This is what you always wanted. These warriors that lacked emotion, that always were just dedicated to the Vinsmoke family and your will. But now you've resorted to becoming a bawling. Oh my God, that is so sad. Wow. I did not expect that. I did not expect the leader of the Vinsmoke family to just break down crying like that. It's just like, I just wanted to be the ruler of the North Blue. I just wanted to become the king and kill everybody and then have my throne of skulls. I didn't even get my throne of skulls. Come on, it's not fair, Big Mom. It's not fair. So, yeah, you know what? Honestly, this makes Sanji out to be even more of a badass as long as most of the characters. We definitely know Judge doesn't have the will of D, because all the members of the Will of D, they die with a smile on their face and they resign themselves to fate. Even Sanji, faced with a gun to his head, probably wouldn't start bawling his eyes out like, oh, why? I don't want to die. Come on now. That's just kind of pathetic. But it really does, honestly, if nothing else, it kind of gives us a little introspection into Judge's character a little bit, that he's more human that he's letting on, even going back to when he let Sanji loose. He didn't want to kill Sanji, even though he was a detriment to him, just because, you're my son and I can't bring myself to kill you. And even he didn't want to give his sons away to Big Mom, probably because he cared about them a little bit. And then, of course, he takes off the helmet. It's probably going to have the eyebrows that are, like, twirling in the same ways as Sanji's. It's kind of like, how, like, all of Sanji's siblings' eyebrows twirl the opposite direction that Sanji's do. So Sanji's, like, the unique one that has emotions, and all the other ones are just, like, these horrible, emotionless, human beings, artificial created human beings, I guess, a little bit. They've been modified. It's going to be the same thing with Judge, where he's going to take off his helmet, and the eyebrows are going to be in the same way as Sanji, representing that he has human emotions, too, and he wanted to have a perfect set of children that were not hampered by those emotions, but he himself still was. So I think that's what it's really going to come back to. That's why he's crying. Don't think of it as just like, oh, I'm so pathetic, just kill me, I'm just a pile of useless garbage. It's more of just like he's the only one reacting to all of his ambitions. Everything that he aspired toward is now coming to an end, and he's going to die, and that's why he's being so upset about it. That's why he starts crying, which is a very human thing to do. Kind of the thing that he was trying to run away from. Judge tries to call out to Big Mom to ask her what's going on, but it seems that Big Mom has her rage broke, basically. It's like that episode of Dragon Ball Z Abridged where his rage just breaks, because she doesn't scream because, the wedding cake and the straw hats and the photo of Mother, it was just too much. It broke her meter, she looped back around and now she's just offline, 404 error, Big Mom .exe has crashed. And so, Pero Sparrow's there and just like, oh yeah, just be glad that, Mama's rage meter has maxed out, because otherwise she'd be letting out this death screech and we'd all be in horrible dire straits right now. But yeah, Pero Sparrow basically just goes right up to Judge and starts to, very creepy pedo again. He just starts slurping the lollipop as he's talking like, yeah, everything you worked for it's gonna die. We're gonna take it away from you. Yeah, god damn it, this is a good lollipop. What's your favorite lollipop, Judge? Mine's cherry flavored. Want me to pop your cherry? Okay, that's getting weird. Let's back up, Sparrow, back up. We cut back over to Bege and Luffy and Brook's head, and they're all trying to figure out, oh, okay, well, maybe if we show Big Mom the picture again, let's not just do that thing that we normally do, whereas we try one thing and if it doesn't work, we just stop doing that again. Let's try it again. Let's pick up the picture and just show it directly to Big Mom's face. Maybe that will cause her to go into the trauma again, because we really need that to happen. Although, I would at least try to shoot her now, because her rage is maxed out and she's just kind of in this daze of like, I mean, it's worth a shot to shoot her and see if something happens, you know, just like, oh, okay, this works too. But no, they wanted to make sure that it's sticking with the plan. So like, okay, let's just show her the picture once more. That'll be the plan. Meanwhile, Dogtooth starts running towards them. He looks white as a ghost, and that basically cues up Bege like right away. It's, you know, it's funny because Dogtooth or Katakuri was originally displayed as this character that's going to be a big problem, and he's actually been a little bit more helpful because, you know, because he can see a little bit into the future with his observation hockey. Bege looks at him and he's just like, oh, he's white as a ghost, so he saw something horrible, so that means our plan's gonna work. Okay, good. We're good now. So that kind of gives it a little sign of relief. And then a few chapters ago, he tried to do something and he's like, sorry, Big Mom, I can't stop this. I can't do anything. So it's not like his ability to see into the future has really changed much of anything. It's actually kind of been more helpful to the opposite side, really. So everyone, Bege screams out, everyone, Allied forces equip the invisible Sinfonia earplugs. You know, put all the earplugs in and everything. We cut inside the cake, where you see Nami and Chopper getting ready with the earplugs. Then we see Luffy picking up the picture of Mother Caramel, ready to like, oh, this will be easy. I just gotta, you know, stretch and then stretch it over to her and show it to her. Reiju gets a gun pointed at her head. Sanji's freaking out because he has to try to get there to save his sister and his family members. Probably mostly just his sister that he cares about in that situation. Climax of the chapter, where Katakuri, for some reason, still hasn't figured out that Bege, even with his powers, Bege is the bad guy. So he just shouts over to Bege like, hey, shoot Straw Hat right now. This is our last chance. We gotta do it. And Bege's just like, I refuse. Katakuri is just like, oh, shit. And then the chapter actually ends out with Bege. It ends up with him saying, yeah, your power might be to see the future, but it doesn't even matter, 'cause everyone has the same power to change it, know what I'm saying? Ends the chapter, devilish grin, smoking a cigar, and that's the way it goes. So it's kind of the opposite of what happened with the whole Yuha thing in Bleach, you know? Like, I could see the future and I could change it, where Bege is pulling a freaking Doc Brown from Back to the Future Part 3. It's just like, the future can be changed. You know, so that's a cool way to end it out, of course, having the ability. Like, the analogy I always gave for Katakuri's abilities is, let's say you have a bouncy rubber ball, you know, and you take this ball and you throw it across the room. Using Katakuri's ability to see into the future, using his advanced observation hockey, he can determine how that ball is going to bounce. He can determine how many bounces it's going to have and where it's eventually going to land in the room. However, he can't see he can't see if somebody decides to just reach out and grab the ball. You know, he can't determine that. Somebody changed it. So he can only see, like, the current events that are, like, continuing onward. If these events were to continue uninterrupted, that's what he sees. But he doesn't have this clairvoyance where he can just see every possibility like Yuha could or anything like that. You know, it's just, you know, so in this situation, they're going to mix things up. And since they are aware that Katakuri can see the future, that's also probably going to throw a wrench in it. Like, oh, well, he can predict the future, so knowing that he can predict the future, I will take this action knowing that he will take this action because he could see that former action. Wibbly wobbly timey wimey, you know what I mean? Alright, so a lot of shit in this chapter to unpack. Okay, so we have two devil fruit users, Daifuku being the weirder one that's able to summon a fucking genie out of nowhere. I'm really going to get back to that because that's weird. And then Oven that had a more basic ability just to, you know, superheat his body up. Looks like we're going to get a fight between him and Pedro, and then a fight between Sanji and Daifuku. That would be just neat if we extend that a little bit. But it seems like coming up next we're going to get this scene where Big Mom's going to freak out even more because Katakuri is flush that something horrible is going to happen that he has to try to stop, even though he really can't. He has to give it a shot, right? So after Big Mom sees the picture again, it's very clear that this wasn't like a joke, or it wasn't like just Bege not remembering what happened. It was very clear that, yes, the picture does have that that reaction to Big Mom normally. It's just all this other stuff. Honestly, they probably could have just left it at the cake, and maybe she would have just screeched anyway. But, you know, I think after she's been known to have rather a lot of mood swings, you know, Big Mom. So, you know, if she can go from like, oh no, how dare you, Jinbei, I'll kill you, you know, she goes through all these different mood swings, she'll probably loop back around and like reset herself. Like, it's like, okay, Big Mom is rebooted. Okay, I'm ready to go. Hey, Big Mom, look at this broken picture. Ah! You know, so that'll probably be what's going down next chapter there, and then everyone gets set, and then that's when Chopper and Nami and Carrot will jump into the fray. We had Gastino getting ready in this chapter, jumping out of the mirror world with Brûlé, so that's the case there. But I don't really think, maybe Bege's going to fight against Katakuri. We might get to see a cool fight there, but I don't think like that's really going to be that, like he's not being set up to being such a scary guy right now. He's honestly saying that his ability to see the future is not really all that helpful in these situations. So maybe that's why he was just kind of thrown in a few chapters ago, like, oh yeah, there's that guy, Katakuri, he could see the future, whatever. He was never mentioned up to this point. Maybe just because his ability to see the future isn't that big of a deal in these situations. Maybe if he was fighting one-on-one with somebody, that power would come in really handy, but there's just so much wacky shit going on, it doesn't even matter at this point, really. But yeah, Brook doesn't have a body, so kind of get that fixed. I mean, he could just use his soul power to reattach it, but he hasn't yet, so I don't know if he's planning with that or some way. Let's see, what else here? You have the Fire Tank Pirates getting ready to take aim on Big Mom. They're still inside Bege there, so there's that. But other than that, you know what? Let's just talk about Pudding a little bit. Like I said, I don't want Pudding to become redeemed or anything like that. She could be legitimately shocked by Sanji's reaction, but don't do that stupid thing where it's like, oh, I was lying to myself this whole time. I really do genuinely love you, Sanji. And if that does happen, Sanji just like, talk to the hand, bitch, and then just walks away. Okay? People have been throwing out ideas like, you know, Pudding's going to be a good person, or she might even join the crew. I'm like, fuck that bullshit. She doesn't deserve it. She didn't, and you know what? Let's, like I said, get on her knees in front of Sanji and apologize to him, and then for everything horrible she's done, and then maybe that's step one on getting to the redemption train. But being an ally and then being a Straw Hat, two completely different things. So yeah, that's not going to happen, but have her at least be a little bit redeemed or set her on the path, but be like, okay, I really fucked up good. So on top of apologizing, I'm also going to go around Totland and dismantle Big Mom's empire or something. Like, okay, that seems like rather noble, but, you know, you were still kind of a bitch, so there's that. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this chapter. It came out a little bit early this week because last week we didn't have one. It was Golden Week, I believe. But hope you guys enjoyed. This will be Tekking101 signing out. Oh, and I made a video the other day about, yesterday, in fact, about the ancient weapons in One Piece, and a few people were complaining that they haven't got it in their sub box. There was a few people that had that. My view counts have been kind of weird because some people haven't even gotten notifications for my videos. It's a little bit odd, so I'll just put that in the card up here. No more annotations. Yeah, YouTube is discontinuing annotations. I think they either today or tomorrow is the last day when you can use annotations, so that kind of sucks. But yeah, it's all about the cards now, so go check that out here if you haven't already. Love you guys. Yeah, signing out.